Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. Starting a business is filled with a lot of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if nobody listens to the podcast? What if nobody cares? It can definitely be hard to get over that doubt and uncertainty, but making that leap was one of the best things I've ever done, and it's great to know that I'm not alone with a business partner like Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Heinz and Mattel to brands just getting started. And I'm telling you, their tools really do feel like you have a business partner. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates to help build a beautiful online store that matches your brand. You can also get the word out like you have an entire marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always there to help with their award-winning 24/7 customer service. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/justice. Go to shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Sky Metalwala. On a cold morning in 2011, a young mother pulled her car to the side of the road, claiming it ran out of gas. She says she left her 2-year-old son Sky asleep in the vehicle while she took her 4-year-old daughter to get help. When they returned, Sky was gone. What followed is a case that has continued to stun the nation for nearly 15 years. This is the case of Sky Metalwala. Just before 10 a.m. on Sunday, November 6, 2011, in Washington state, the Bellevue Police Department received a 911 call from 30-year-old Julia Biryukova. It really sounded like every parent's worst nightmare. She was calling to report that her 2-year-old son, Sky, was missing. Officers rushed to the scene. Here, and throughout the early investigation into Sky's disappearance, Julia begins to explain what happened. She says that about 2.5 hours ago at 7:20 a.m., she left her apartment in Redmond, Washington with her 2 children. At this time, she had a 4-year-old daughter, but since she was so young when this happened and hasn't consented to being a part of this story publicly as far as I could find, I don't feel comfortable naming her in this episode. So we'll just call her Ashley. So she's traveling with 4-year-old Ashley and her 2-year-old son, Sky. Now, Julia's statements have been vague about exactly what symptoms he had, but she says Sky was sick. So sick that she couldn't wait to schedule a doctor's appointment. She was driving him straight to Overlake Medical Center in Bellevue, where they had a hospital. But then her car ran out of gas and stalled about 15 minutes into the drive. It's a silver 1998 Acura Integra 2-door coupe. The car is left on the side of the road at the corner of Northeast 24th Street and 112th Avenue Northeast in Bellevue, just 5 minutes shy of the medical center, or just over a mile away. So we're at about 7:35 a.m. when Julia says that her car ran out of gas. And there's another problem. According to reporting by the Associated Press, Julia left her purse, wallet, ID, and cell phone at home. So she has no way to call anyone and no way to pay for more gas. She has to walk. So she says that due to the colder weather, which was about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, she decided to leave Sky buckled in his car seat sleeping in the unlocked car alone, while she and 4-year-old Ashley walk about a mile to a gas station to get help. Specifically, she said that she didn't want to expose Sky to the cold weather. There are some conflicting resources here, but it looks like it takes her about an hour to get to the gas station. Here, she calls her friend Shelby. Shelby comes, picks them up, and they head back to the car. This takes about another hour. And by the time they get to Julia's car, Sky is gone. He's no longer buckled in his car seat, and he's nowhere to be seen in the surrounding area. So Julia calls 911. Immediately, there are massive search efforts for Sky. They scour a 20-block area surrounding the car and go door to door looking for witnesses. They also set up roadblocks to stop drivers and ask if they'd seen Sky. Now, I want to set the scene a little bit. It's not like Julia's car was in the middle of nowhere. While they were close to a wooded area, they're basically in a pretty upscale part of town, with a mix of homes and businesses. There's also a school nearby. It is far from desolate. So it would seem that the chances of Sky being taken or wandering away without anyone seeing him would be slim. At the very least, if Sky was crying for some reason, you'd think that someone would hear him. But that apparently wasn't the case. They ultimately only found one witness who said that they drove by the car at about 8:50 a.m., and that it seemed to be empty. No Julia, no Ashley, and no Sky. The Bellevue PD also brings in search and rescue dogs and cadaver dogs, who do not make any hits on or around Julia's car. There's basically no trace of Sky. According to statements from Sky's father, Solomon Metalwala, it sounds like Sky was able to walk. But him unbuckling himself, moving the front seat forward, or climbing over the center console and getting out of the car seemed unlikely as well, at least according to statements made by police. There was also no blood or any sign of a struggle in the car, so really the only option at this point is foul play. And as investigators are looking at Julia's car, they discover something that changes the entire course of this case. It was fine. There were no mechanical issues, and it had over 2 gallons of gas. There was also no gas can in sight, so it clearly hadn't just been refueled after running out of gas. It was clear to investigators that Julia's story was not adding up. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together. And Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. A lot happens on the following day, Monday, November 7th. Julia consented to having her apartment searched by investigators. They also searched a residence she had previously lived at in Kirkland and her vehicle, but nothing related to Sky's disappearance was found. They also planned to remove the gas tank from Julia's car and process the vehicle for fingerprints. And while Julia was initially cooperative, this didn't last for very long. She stopped talking to investigators and did decline to take a polygraph test. And Major Mike Johnson from the Bellevue PD was pretty open about where the investigation stood. He told King 5 News, quote, "Given the limited amount of information we have, the fact that there's really no solid leads to follow up on in regard to where he might be, absolutely we suspect foul play. Someone close to this family knows what happened to this child." End quote. Sky's case was picked up pretty quickly by local and national news outlets. Reporters began running stories that Sky hadn't been seen for nearly 2 weeks before he went missing. But police have also stated that according to interviews with Ashley, Sky was in the car with her and their mother that day. There was also surveillance video from the parking garage of Julia's apartment complex on the morning Sky went missing. That's how we know that they left at 7:20 a.m. So I guess really take all that for what you will. It seems that the last time Sky was seen is still up for debate. The media also began working with Sky's father, Solomon. He says that he was only notified that Sky was missing at 10:30 a.m. that day when 3 officers came to his home. He was immediately interviewed by reporters at his attorney's office in Bellevue, openly stating that he felt Julia's story was bizarre and puzzling. He also questioned why she wouldn't take both kids with her and knock on a door nearby for help. He did take a polygraph test, which came back inconclusive. His lawyer said that that was to be expected, because his client was way too tired for an accurate test. He added that Solomon would be taking another test the following day, and it does appear that he did, but the results of that test have not been made public. Solomon and several of his family members also submitted DNA samples to match with DNA evidence found at Julia's apartment, but whatever that DNA evidence was has not been specified in the media. So at this point, literally 24 hours into the investigation, Sky's mother has stopped cooperating, and his father is very forward-facing in the media, doubting her story, as police also cast a light of suspicion on the family. And as investigators begin to look further into this case and really everyone's history, a very disturbing story begins to come to the surface. Now, to really understand Sky's case, we need to go way back and talk about some history. Julia was born in Soviet Russia. In court documents, she described a pretty horrific childhood. It included daily beatings and electroshock therapy. In the 90s, her family immigrated to the U.S., and in 1997, when Julia was 15 years old and a sophomore at Bellevue High School, she met Solomon at a gas station. He was 21 years old and invited her to a party. A 21-year-old pursuing a 15-year-old is not a relationship of equals. It is statutory rape. A 15-year-old cannot consent to sex. I just can't in good faith say that they started a romantic relationship. But this is when they met. Julia told licensed clinical psychologist Stephen J. Cummings that pretty quickly she discovered that Solomon was, quote, very controlling, declared himself to be a Christ-like figure who had great persuasive skills due to his charm, end quote. Cummings added, quote, an emotional abuse pattern insidiously set in, where Julia gradually became dependent upon Solomon for her very identity and self-esteem, end quote. But they stayed together, and Julia began working at Solomon's family business, the King Street Cafe. Here, she was led to believe that she was a co-owner in the business, but she later discovered that that was never the case. They later purchased a condo together in Bellevue, but the fighting persisted and even escalated to the point of police intervention during a public argument at a gas station. According to court documents, despite Julia not having an ownership stake in the business, she and Solomon were passionate about running it. But things seem to have taken a major turn in 2003, when Solomon's mother told Julia that if they didn't get married, he would be deported back to Pakistan. So they got married and had a small ceremony in Solomon's mother's kitchen. A few years later, they had their first and only daughter together. But things didn't get any better from here. Soon, a rival business moved in next to theirs, and it detrimentally harmed their business. At this point, we're getting close to the year 2008, which of course was a major economic turning point in the US that destroyed countless people financially. But they really kind of doubled down on this and bought a nearly $1 million house in Kirkland, while still maintaining the mortgage on their Bellevue condo. By 2009, Julia discovered that Solomon had been hiding a huge secret from her. They were 6 months behind on their mortgage payments, and the timing couldn't be any worse. Julia was pregnant with their second child, Sky. By the fall, their home was foreclosed on, and they moved back to the Bellevue condo. Sky was born on September 6, 2009, right in the middle of all the chaos. He was only 2 months old when he was mentioned in his first police report. Julia and Solomon had taken him to a Target store and left him alone in their vehicle for 55 minutes in 27-degree weather. Luckily, someone walked by the vehicle and saw Sky alone crying in his car seat and called police. When officers got to the scene, they asked the store to page the owners of the vehicle, and that's when Julia and Solomon came forward. They both received citations from the Redmond Police Department for reckless endangerment and were made to complete 40 hours of community service as well as parenting classes. There was also a CPS investigation into Sky's care, but by 2011, the case was fully dismissed due to Julia and Solomon completing their classes and volunteer hours. This would later be brought up during their divorce proceedings as evidence of neglect. Those proceedings and documents are where a lot of this background information came from. They officially separated in March 2010, after Julia was involuntarily committed to psychiatric hospitals on 2 occasions after discussing dying by suicide over text to Solomon. Now, like I said earlier, I've changed the name of their daughter for this episode, but the text said, quote, "Please, please, I'm begging with my whole heart, help me find a peaceful way to die. I cannot live another day and cause you, Ashley, and Sky any more suffering. I'm dead inside anyway and have been dead for a long time. You will not miss me at all, and Ashley and Sky have the best daddy in the world, so I know they will be okay." End quote. According to reporting by Matt Phelps for the Kirkland Reporter, Solomon called the police, described the text messages, and expressed concern that Julia was home alone with Sky, who was 6 months old at the time. When officers arrived, Julia admitted to having suicidal thoughts. And as divorce proceedings tend to go, things got pretty nasty as each parent fought for custody of the kids. Solomon brought up the text messages in court, and Julia said that she didn't plan on dying by suicide, that it was only a desperate attempt to get her husband's attention. But Solomon argued in court that Julia was struggling with her mental health. He said that she had a severe case of OCD and bipolar disorder that deeply impacted their children. He argued that Julia cared more about cleaning a countertop than feeding the kids, and eventually had a dream about strangling Sky. He also said that Julia essentially refused to keep any food in their home to avoid getting it dirty, and often didn't feed the kids for this reason. Julia's mother also stated that she believed Julia was ill. She said in court, quote, "Neither your husband nor I would like for you to live with us at your current condition. All of us, your children included, are suffering from your abuse." End quote. However, her mother would later state that she only believed this because Solomon, quote, "Little by little, he convinced me that my daughter was sick." End quote. And clinical psychologist Dr. Stephen A. Scholl added, quote, "Although Ms. Biryukova is dealing with a severe form of OCD, I do not believe that this interferes with her ability to be a compassionate, effective parent to her children." End quote. Another psychologist also said that they believed Julia was an intense young woman, but her only interest was to provide a good life for her kids. Julia accused Solomon of abusing her and the children, saying that he'd beat the kids with a wooden spoon. And while a social worker did find evidence that Solomon had caused bruising on Ashley, and Ashley herself stated as much, ultimately CPS deemed all allegations of abuse or neglect against either parent to be unfounded. And in the fall of 2010, Julia was granted full custody of the kids. But the court battle continued. On November 1st, 2011, so just days before Sky went missing, Julia and Solomon went through an 11-hour court-ordered mediation to discuss custody. And they did reach an agreement which allowed Solomon visitation rights. But the next day, Julia said that she believes she made a mistake and felt pressured into this agreement. And just 5 days later, Sky was gone.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Now that we know about some history and the court proceedings leading up to Sky's disappearance, let's get back to the investigation. After Sky was reported missing, Ashley was taken from her mother's care and placed into CPS custody. At this point, Solomon tells investigators that he believes Julia is responsible for his disappearance. He tells them about this dream that she allegedly had where she strangled him. So really, all eyes were and continued to be focused on Julia. Now, I do think it's worth noting here that Shelby, that friend who picked Julia up that day, really hasn't said much in the media. And it doesn't seem that she was involved past just trying to help a friend out that day. Solomon did assist in the efforts to find Sky, and he and his friends helped distribute flyers around the area he went missing from. The Sunday following Sky's disappearance, investigators also went back out to the scene where Julia's car was found, and they set up another 5-hour roadblock. Basically, they were trying to replicate the conditions of the morning Sky went missing. Same time, same place, and hopefully, same people. According to reporting by CBS News, they speak to at least 20 people who might have been in the area when Sky went missing. But it didn't seem like any of them had any information that led them any closer to Sky. Then, on November 14th, there appeared to be a break in the case. According to reporting by HLN News, a ransom note was sent to the creator of a Facebook page created to assist in locating Sky. The creator is anonymous, but this note was quickly released to the media. It said, quote, "Your child is alive, but suffering from shock. If you want your child back alive, you must make available the sum of US $25,000. I must warn you that if this note goes public to police or you make a demand for proof, and don't write the money within the next 24 hours, fingers cut off one by one." End quote. It's terrible and shocking, but according to reporting by the Redmond Reporter, the police do quickly rule out this note as a legitimate lead. Now, there were more searches for Sky, including a meticulous search of the 640-acre May Moore Park in Redmond. Searchers found a toddler-sized shoe, but it ultimately was determined to not belong to Sky. By November 15th, the Bellevue Police announced that they've gotten over 1,000 tips in Sky's case, but that it remained a missing persons investigation and had not yet turned criminal. But they also reiterated that they were investigating all theories at this point. We are less than 2 weeks into this case, and the police really have nothing other than some pretty scary accusations against Julia, and Julia wasn't talking. But soon, a very interesting theory came to light. According to Solomon, one of Julia's favorite shows was Law & Order, And the night before Sky was reported missing, a rerun of the show aired with a pretty similar plot to Sky's disappearance. In the episode, a woman says that she left her young son in his car seat while she went into a store to buy diapers. When she came out, her son and her car were gone. By the end of the episode, they discover that the child's parents had fabricated the story, and they find the child's remains on the beach. And this isn't just a random internet theory. The police have confirmed the odd similarities as well. According to reporting by the Huffington Post, Bellevue Police Major Mike Johnson said, quote, "I've heard about the Law & Order SVU episode that has great similarity to this case. I heard that it aired Saturday, the day before the disappearance of Sky. I know that there are several folks up in the operations center of the command post that have taken a look at that episode and have commented that it is strikingly similar in nature." End quote. Unfortunately, Sky's case really does go cold at this point. By December 2011, Solomon was granted full custody of his daughter Ashley, and Julia was granted supervised visitation. In February 2012, a vigil was held for Sky at Bellevue Park, where Solomon was in attendance and thanked attendees. By 2013, police confirmed that Julia still refused to speak to investigators, but that they were still receiving leads in Sky's case. Solomon's attorney also speaks to the media to say that he doesn't believe Sky is alive and that Julia is responsible. In 2014, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released an age-progressed photo of Sky, and that same year, Julia got remarried to a man named Alan Morgan. But it doesn't seem that things were going well for them. Morgan goes to jail on Christmas Eve for assaulting Julia and violating a no-contact order, which is horrifying by itself. But even scarier, because at this time, Julia was pregnant with his child. In July 2015, Julia gave birth to her second son, who I'll call Joseph. Just like Ashley, for the protection of this child, I have changed his name. But this sparked a lot of controversy, because the real name Julia had chosen was actually Sky's middle name. Now, I know that I'm making it a little confusing here. But again, I'm just trying to protect this kid who can't choose whether or not to contribute to his own digital footprint, so bear with me. At this point, Alan Morgan was still in jail for assaulting Julia, and it seems that pretty much immediately, due to both parents, CPS becomes involved and investigates the well-being of baby Joseph. According to reporting by King 5 News, within hours of Joseph's birth, CPS got a referral expressing concern for the newborn due to Julia's mental health, and outlined basically everything that was brought up in Julia and Solomon's divorce proceedings and Sky's disappearance. There was also concern that Julia was attempting to violate the no-contact order she had with her husband. She was also petitioning the court to have it lifted. Essentially, there were many reasons cited to spark the CPS investigation into the baby's welfare. Now, records for Joseph are obviously private, and for good reason, but we do know that Julia would eventually admit that she was not able to see her son outside of supervised visitation. That same year, 2015, the Bellevue police chief made a public plea for Julia to cooperate with them. And on the 5-year anniversary of Sky going missing in 2016, he outright said that he believed Julia lied to the police about the circumstances of his disappearance. The following year, Julia lost her visitation rights with her daughter Ashley. And really, over the next few years, Sky's case just follows the same cycle. The Bellevue police ask for Julia to come forward to cooperate with them, and Julia stays silent. Really, the only other update is from 2021. That's when Julia was arrested for apparently shoplifting some clothing from a Costco in Redmond. In the end, Bellevue Police Chief Steve Milet has said outright that Julia knows what happened to Sky and holds the key to finding him. But after over 14,000 man-hours and spending $2 million chasing over 2,500 tips, Sky Metalwala is still missing.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
Where is Daredevil.
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
As of recording this episode, it's been nearly 14 years since Sky Metalwala went missing, and there's no denying that basically everything points to Julia being involved. Really, all we're left with are theories, so let's talk about them. Of course, this is all speculation, but let's dig in. First, let's discuss Julia's theory, that there was a stranger abduction. Julia left the car unlocked. Could someone have seen Sky at the right time and taken him? Sure. Could they have done that without leaving any trace evidence on the vehicle or being seen? Maybe. But the issue that I and most people have with this theory is that Julia's story about running out of gas doesn't add up. And like I said, more importantly, investigators don't believe so either. The second theory is that Sky was never even in that car. Like I told you earlier, there is some debate about when Sky was last seen, and whether or not Ashley, who was 4 at the time, may have been coached on what to say. Now, I did some digging, and Solomon said that by the time Ashley was 7, she told him that she had no memory of that day. We do have one witness who says that they saw the car just before 9 a.m. that morning, and no one was in it. But I would argue that if something happened to Sky, it could have been done in the hour or so between the car being parked and this person seeing it empty. For the record, though, Solomon has stated that he doesn't believe that Sky was in the car that day. So take that for what you will. The third theory is a pretty common one in many cases of missing children that seem to have just disappeared without any evidence to show where they may have gone. That maybe there was some tragic accident that resulted in Sky's death, and Julia staged the abduction to cover it up. Maybe even using that Law & Order episode to help fabricate the story. I think this theory can be combined with the idea that Julia had been responsible for Sky's death and staged everything to make it look like an abduction. One argument for this theory that's been proposed takes us back to that 11-hour mediation, just days before he went missing. There have been questions about who was caring for the children during this meeting, and Julia's been accused of leaving them home alone during this time. Remember, as far as we know, no one has come forward to say that they saw Sky in the 2 weeks leading up to his disappearance, so it's still not clear who was caring for him during that meeting. It's possible he could have passed away during that time frame, really from any number of reasons. But again, this and all of these theories are just speculation. Other theories include Julia selling Sky, or sending him to be overseas with family. But the police have chimed in on this theory and doubted its legitimacy due to the difficulty of obtaining passports for children. Some have even speculated that Solomon somehow tracked Julia's location and grabbed Sky out of the car himself. And the last theory is that Julia harmed Sky in order to get back at Solomon. In the end, we don't know what happened to Sky Metalwala. But I think I'm just going to take the lead from investigators and try to focus on raising awareness for his case, in hopes that Julia or someone else cooperates with this investigation and comes forward with information that may lead them to Sky. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share this case. When I first discovered it, I was shocked with how little recent coverage there's been. Really, it seems like it's gotten to the point where there's basically a new article rehashing the same facts each year on the anniversary of his disappearance. This is a case that truly feels solvable, and that, like police have inferred, might get there by applying a little media pressure. So please share. Sky does have 2 siblings who deserve better than the harsh ambiguity of having a missing loved one. As a reminder, 2-year-old Sky Metalwala was reported missing from Bellevue, Washington on November 6, 2011. At that time, he was 2 feet, 10 inches tall and weighed approximately 30 pounds. He is biracial with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Sky is asked to call the Bellevue Police Department. at 425-577-5656. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio door is open, our emotional support puppies, Popcorn and Heber, are in the room. Let's go right on to the case. This was a hard one for obvious reasons, and I do feel like I had to keep some of the details out of this episode to protect the other kids. Really, it was just things that really, I guess Solomon expanded on during the divorce proceedings that added more depth to what he was saying. I don't think I left out anything crucial. I don't think that would be, doing a service to Sky. It's this hard balance between always trying to do right by the victim at the center of these stories while protecting the kids too, the other kids. I guess I just don't feel like it's fair when these minor children are involved and have this huge digital footprint by the time that they turn 18. Which by now, Ashley would be 18. I don't know. I hope that makes sense to you guys. That's why I changed their names. That's why I kept some of the details out. Specifically details of Ashley's abuse that was outlined. I didn't feel relevant to Sky in certain ways and just didn't feel fair to Ashley. I think it's pretty apparent that things weren't good in that house, and I don't think going into more detail about what they experienced was necessary. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. As always, I'm open to opinions. I'm open to other interpretations of how this should be done, but that's how I felt most comfortable covering this case. Now let's go on to media discrepancies. There were some, not a ton, thank goodness. I think really it was nailing down the timeline of how everything happened on the day that Sky went missing. But I can't really attribute all that to media. I think obviously Julia was a major factor in trying to nail down this timeline. Under my media section, I also had old school true crime, holy cow. Some of this coverage was just really hard to watch. I can and even did admit in the episode that, Julia is obviously a prime suspect in this case. I wasn't hiding it. The police weren't hiding it. More importantly, always, I think it's much more crucial to listen to them than me, who is so far removed from the case. But some of this coverage and the things that they were talking about in terms of Julia and her personal character just felt, to be honest, way out of line. They were even, essentially saying that she was at the point where she was a sex worker and that she may have been trying to traffic her other children. And I believe the evidence that I saw for that was that she had more pictures of one child versus the other. I don't know, we're all free to believe what we want to believe in, but that's not a narrative that I felt comfortable moving forward with. I guess the theme of this case was holy crap. There were so many theories out there that were incredibly salacious that I did not feel comfortable including in this episode. Of course, it's true crime. I feel like every theory is on the table, but I don't know. There's a line for me between reason and just reaching. But let's move on to the hero of this episode. This was a hard one for me. I mean, I don't know. I feel like nobody looked so great in this case, to be honest. So I chose the Bellevue PD for responding quickly, taking it seriously, and really keeping his case in the public eye for so many years. It does seem like every year on the anniversary they come out, they really try to appeal to Julia and just get his name back in the media, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I can tell you that that doesn't happen for most cases at most departments. So shout out to the Bellevue PD for really just trying to keep this case top of mind in this never-ending pit of a 24-hour news cycle. But let's go on to our segment of hope. And I'm not going to lie, this one, when I saw it, I started bawling my eyes out. So I'm actually reading from a government website today from the Arizona Department of Safety. And the title reads, Turquoise Alert Assists in Safe Recovery of Missing 6-Year-Old Girl in Cottonwood. So if you guys know, I covered Emily Pike's case several times. Oh, I'm trying not to get emotional. I've covered her case and have followed it extensively. You guys know that I have the softest spot in my heart for children in the foster care system. Emily Pike went missing from the foster care system, from her group home, I should say, and was later found deceased. She had been brutally murdered, and the community, me, so many people were advocating for what they're calling here in Arizona a turquoise alert. This is a special alert to basically just get the word out about any missing Indigenous person in Arizona. It was a hot topic of debate. People didn't like it. Some people are advocating. It was a huge hot topic of debate. So when I saw this turquoise alert pop up on my phone, I start sobbing because, of course, I think about Emily Pike. And of course, this poor 6-year-old little girl who'd gone missing. And again, I don't want to say her name. I don't know. You guys, I don't think it's fair for these kids to have this huge digital footprint. I don't want to be a part of that. And it's not that necessary, right? But I can tell you some of the details. This release from the Arizona Department of Public Safety says, quote, the alert was issued the evening of Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, in connection with a custodial interference case originating out of Hawaii. The girl, I'm not saying her name, was reportedly taken by her non-custodial mother, 48-year-old Sarah Coltis, in violation of a lawful custody order. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the FBI contacted the Cottonwood Police Department with new information indicating that the mother and daughter were in their jurisdiction. Basically, the Cottonwood Police Department responded and successfully located both the mother and the daughter. The daughter was found safe and asleep and was cared for by police until the Arizona Department of Child Safety arrived to take custody. The mother was arrested and the turquoise alert was canceled. Sorry, I got emotional, so I paused. I am trying to regain myself here. It's just this incredibly bittersweet thing when you see the legacy of a child where their case is unresolved, like Emily Pike, like Amber Hagerman, the namesake of the Amber Alert. Their cases are unsolved. They are still waiting for justice, but their legacy is still helping others. It's just this fundamentally unfair feeling while also being this beautiful thing at the same time. Sorry, I really do try my best not to sob into the microphone over these things. It's just hard. Amber Hagerman, Emily Pike, they should be here today, but they aren't, and their legacy is helping bring these kids home safe. So that's why it makes our segment of hope. After seeing so many people fight against the turquoise alert, it was just really cool to see it finally bring a kid home. I mean, really, not finally, I should say. This was the first turquoise alert ever issued, and it was successful. So that's why it makes our segment of hope, and please take a moment to share Amber Hagerman's case and Emily Pike's case. They deserve to have a resolution just like all of the kids that they are going to and have helped come home. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.